Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on which part of the world you are watching us. Welcome to our first live on Facebook of our new program of the I Am Magazine International, the I Am News Live. I am Yadira Gonzalez Munoz, founder and CEO in Europe of the magazine. And I want to tell you a little bit of what I Am Magazine was created and what for, So it was created in December 19, 2009, with an intrepid group of entrepreneurs who believed in my vision of the I Am revolution. So we are a digital magazine designed and dedicated to providing an insightful and optimistic, upbeat look at what makes us special and unique. So every issue, we're trying to fill it up with inspiring stories, articles to grow, teach, and develop the best version of ourselves. We want to share the gift of love, education, personal development, mentality, and much more to the world. And this is why we begin to present our most precious professionals that we have been featuring at the I Am magazine throughout these years of virtual and digital empowerment. So, today, for the first time in our program, this is our first program in English because in Spanish we did it last week. We bring LaQuita Parks. And LaQuita is the founder and CEO of Paprovi Publishing and a facilitator of a failure to communicate. She's a mentoring program as well as in a relationship communication coach and mentor with a passion. You're going to love her when you meet her. So, this is what she's doing. And I want you all to know a little bit more about Loquita in this interview, and it will give you a better vision of who she is. And it will be good if you want to know more about Laquita in more details. You can always read her story on the January Ability Edition in 2021. And you can find her story on page 8. Besides that, she is our monthly contributor on the magazine, so you can read her stories every month. So I'm going to invite Laquita. Welcome, darling. Welcome. How are you?
I am fine. Good morning. Well, it's morning here in in Atlanta, Georgia. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for us this afternoon, but I love it. I thank you for being with us today, Laquita. I am so happy that you have decided to come to our program and enjoy the time that we're going to do. First of all, we want to know, who are you? Who is Laquita Parks?
Well, I am the author. I'm an author, first of all. I am the owner of Pay Pro V Publishing. And Pay Pro V means pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress. And without progress, there can be no victory. So I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. I am also a mother of 3 adult children and Nana to 4 grandbabies and one on the way. So, and I am a Christian. I am a woman of God. So, all of that makes me who I am.
This is great. I love it because most important is not what we are doing or the how can I say, the title that we are, but our essential, our essence, our I am. And being a mom, being a grandma, that is something that is like, wow, it's amazing because we can do so many things besides being an owner of our own business. So tell me, Laquita, what do you do?
So I own a publishing company, and through that publishing company, I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. So it doesn't matter where you are in your story writing journey. So if you have a story, and we know that 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. So you have a story idea, but have no idea how to get started. We help you get started. So I help you to cultivate that idea and bring it to fruition. And if you have started writing your story and you're stuck, you feel like, okay, I don't know which direction to go, what I should include in my story. Should I add this? Should I take this out? Am I being too open? Am I not being open enough? I can help you with that. And then if you've already written your story, if you have already gotten all the, all your chapters, and who you're going to dedicate it to, you got your title, your conclusion, then we edit you and we publish for you. So it doesn't matter where you are. We can help you no matter what you're doing or what your reason. So we consider your why. Why am I doing this? So we know the best way to help you. So that's what we do.
I love it. And I know that you really love sharing important and life stories from people that we have even been able to share those stories, those books in the magazine. So this is very important for us to know more about it. So tell us, Laquita, how or what brought you to do this?
So I love people. I absolutely love people. And I started PayProV in the middle of the pandemic. Everything was happening, but I used my own personal story. So my pandemic started way before 2019, 2020. In the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, I had to go to the Mayo Clinic. And I was at the Mayo Clinic. I'd been there 4 months. I've been back and forth. And that last time, the doctor told me while I was not dying, I was suffering. And I thought, okay, this is not going to be my life. But one of the things that happened while I was at the Mayo Clinic, I had people asking me how I wrote my book, because I wrote and published my book called Walking Limitations, True Life Story about my life, about 5 years ago. And I was thinking, man, I'm at the Mayo Clinic. You're asking me to help you while I'm at the Mayo Clinic. That's what I was saying in my mind. So instead of saying that to those people, I decided, what could it hurt? And I found that it actually helped me while I was at the Mayo Clinic. It took my mind off of what was going on with me, all of the doctor's visits and all of the tests. So I started, publishing people's story while I was at the Mayo Clinic. I found that it was therapeutic for me. And then as I coached those people through their process and, why are you writing this book and who is your audience? I found that it was actually therapeutic for them as well. And they were able to get, some healing from some of the things that they had buried inside. So I started using my own personal story of walking limitations to help other people tell their stories. And in 1 year, just shy, it's been a year and a half, I have had the honor of helping, almost 50 people publish their stories. And it has certainly been an amazing journey. I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
Thank you for letting me know. I was already talking. Well, this is very nice. I would like if you maybe after the show you could share us the link of the walking limitations. We would love to share your story with it. It's very
Absolutely.
important uh, to know a little bit more about it. The other
Yes.
thing is like um, why or how do you do it? How do you help the people to start writing their story, to really connect into your story of your life, because actually it's telling the story of your life, to put it out there so people will know who you really are. So how do you do it?
Well, first, I think it's important to start cultivating a relationship. So when someone calls me and they say, "Hey, I want to write my story," or "I'm working on a book," what do I do? So the first thing that I want to know is, what's the why? What's the reason behind your story? Why are you writing a story? Are you writing the story because you want to leave a legacy for your children? Are you writing because you want to inform people of an incident in your life that affected you all of your life that could help somebody else get through? Do you want to, are you wanting to entertain somebody? So I find out first what the purpose is. And once I find out what the purpose is and who their audience is, then we can start the process. So, because if you know who your audience is, then you know who you're writing to. If you don't, if you can't pinpoint that, then you're going to be all over the place. And another thing I want to know is, why should I care about your story? So if you can't answer to me why I should care about your story, then you have to ask yourself, am I really ready to start writing my story? And I do that, Yadira, because when you start writing your story, now your story can be in any type of shape. It can be your personal autobiography. That's your story. It can be your children's book in the form of your story. I've published people who wrote a children's book, and it was a memoir from a child that they lost, or a fantasy story. It could be a cookbook where you take your life work and your grandmother's, the stories from your grandmother, and the recipes, and cultivate that into a book. It could be a journal. So whatever. So your story doesn't have to be, something happened to me, or, I was this, I was that. It doesn't have to be that. Your story is your story in whatever genre you want to put that story in. So once we get through that part, then we start writing. And I do this thing called the heart of the story. And I ask all these questions because when you start writing, people will see your sincerity, and they'll connect better with you if they see that you're writing from the heart. If you're just trying to, and another thing, if you want to make money, if you want to make passive income, that's fine too. But you have to also know that these are the steps that I need to take in order for me to generate money. So what's your why? And then we start setting some goals. We start, and I do that on an individual basis, because your goals and my goals are different. If I'm sitting down to write my story, I know what my schedule is. So I may not be able to spend, 2 hours a day writing, but I can spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes a day. Even if I break it up, I can get up 15 minutes early, go to bed 15 minutes later, right on my lunch break. So I help them come up with ways that they can write their stories. There is no excuse. Anybody can start writing their story. Even if you can't physically pick up a pen and start writing or start typing, because there are some people who have some debilitating things with their hands. I teach you how to dictate your story to yourself and send it to yourself, and then you have that in an electronic file. So those are some of the things that I do to help people start the writing process.
This is amazing. I love it. I love this because it's also a way of healing our um, past pains, I can say, when we are
Right.
writing
Yes.
about our struggles. And what it is most important is actually um, letting people know, or letting even yourself know, that even though you went through all those struggles, you're writing your story. But it is to let people out there to know, or to become stronger on knowing, hey, this is happening to me, or this happened to me, but I went through it. I was capable of going through it. I found my strength. I found the power of will to keep on doing it. And I believe that that is an inspiration for others, to be able to help the person that is reading, like saying, okay, I'm reading your story. If this person did it, I can do it
Yes.
too. And that is something wonderful that you have created. And is this for everyone? Let us know who can write the story, or if they have, like a little bit of fear to step forward and write their story. What would you tell them about not being afraid or anything like that?
Yes. So first of all, it is for anybody. Anybody who can write a story. Even if it doesn't matter how old you are. I have received some things from younger people. Even my illustrators are teenagers or junior illustrators, and who have written stories. So yes, it can be anybody who's able to write. I encourage that. If it's a teenager, I do a mentoring program through my Failure to Communicate mentoring programs, and I help them too. I start, but with a younger person, I'll start by journal writing. It's good for older people too, but more of a guided journal. And I would give them some steps on what to do, and then it's easier to take what they've written in their journal and then talk about publishing that. So that's easier for younger people, and I've done that. I've published anthologies for youth organizations. So that's that part, and then the fear. I'm not going to lie and say it's not it doesn't create some anxiety, because when you're starting to write, even if you've written before, it's a little bit, you start some anxiety when you're working on a new project. And depending on the project, or your book project, I call it, there's going to be anxiety. There's going to be anxiety at the beginning when you start the process. When you start, you'll be a little anxious, but then once you start, you'll be able to breathe and say, "Okay, I've gotten started." And then you're good. And then once you get through, there's another set of anxiety that, okay, now I'm finished. Now here's the feedback. What, is it going to be received? What's the editor going to say? What are the feedback coaches going to say? And then, so that's another anxiety. And then when you launch your book, here it is, open to the world. And if it's a story like my walking limitation story, it's a vulnerable story about my life, and how I was crippled at the hands of a nurse. Then and there are people, my family, what are they going to think? Are people going to say, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that about your mom," or so you open yourself up. So that creates another leg of anxiety. But what I tell people is, that's fine. It's normal, but don't overthink, because sometimes if your anxiety should catapult you to finishing your project, not make you stop. So if you're too anxious, I coach and guide people through that. I've had some I've had some authors who were like, no, 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 no. They were really resistant to the feedback, and they kind of stiffened and put a guard up. But I coached them through it, and after a while, they relaxed, and they got their book out. Their book is out. Their book is selling, and they've overcome that. So don't overthink. That's the one thing I tell people. That would be the blocker. That's the hard stop, when you start overthinking and you say, okay, well, my book is not the same length as Yadira's book. Yadira's book is longer than, is my book going to look like that? Or, Yadira did this, or LaQuita did that. Yadira's story was different. LaQuita's
Yes.
story was different. It's your story, and everybody has a right to tell their story how they want to tell their story. You create the narrative for your own story. So it doesn't matter. I have two sisters, and our stories are going to be different, even though we grew up together. Our stories are different because of our own perspectives. So that's the best advice that I can give. Don't overthink. It's your story. Write your story. Just write your story.
Yeah, and like you were saying, everyone has a story, a different story. Your sisters, everyone has a different story. It's a different perspective. And as I told you once before, we are all unique.
Yes.
And our uniqueness, we can show it to the world and say, hey, I know sometimes, like you say, we are like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about it because probably it's embarrassing. But it's not. Your story has a message, and that message is to help someone else that is going through something similar to you, and they're going to find that strength to go
Yes.
over it. And then the moment that you write, because I already written my story, the moment that I put my pen on the paper and I started writing it, it kind of like healed some things that I had from the past that I was holding inside of me. And then when I took it out, it was like, wow. It's
Yes.
like, wow, I'm free. I wrote it, it's down there, it's done. And it is amazing because then it's like, okay, I want to go with more. I just told a little bit. I want to say more about it. So it is wonderful. And I think that what you're doing, it's a great help for others, because there's so many people out there that really want to write their story. And as you know, you can write your story, your mini story with the I Am magazine, and we can just put it to LaQuitas to publish it in an amazing book,
Yes,
the
yes,
real thing, the strategies and everything that you build or you give for the people that are wanting to write their story are amazing, because that's what we all need, someone to guide us through that process. And sometimes we need our hand, holding hand, to say, please.
yes. And that's the good thing about pay per view. I hold your hand through it, so I don't throw you out and leave you on your own. I hold your hand from beginning to end, and so there are some things that you grow in, and you will definitely grow in this process. But because it can be some anxiety, and because it's the first time a lot of people have written, and they probably had people saying, oh, if I were you, I wouldn't tell my business. Don't you're I actually had one of my authors who I published for a few months ago have a hard time because her mom and her dad both passed, and her mom's friend was like, your mom wouldn't like you doing this. Your
Mm,
mom wouldn't like you, sharing this about her life. And she was like, it's my life. It's my life. So she did it, and she was a little anxious, but the wonderful thing about her and so many others that I published for, they followed they trusted the process. So
right.
if you trust the process, you know that in the midst there's going to be pain in everything that we do. There's going to be pain in our lives, but if we trust the process and move past that pain, then that's the progress. And if we trust the process, we move from the pain to the progress, then and only then will we get the victory. And that's why pay pro V is so important, because we help people recognize that it's okay, because that pain helps you get to that progress, and that progress will surely get you to the victory. So with pay pro V publishing, we help you. And so when you have that book in your hand, when your story is out, we not only help you write your story, we also help you market that story and provide platforms for you to tell your stories. That's why I love the relationship with I Am Magazine, because my authors get a chance to share on an international level. They get to share their story and be in a upscale, classy platform that they can do so, and they can be proud of it. So I love what you guys do with I Am Magazine. So it complements, to me, it complements pay per view publishing.
Thank you so much, honey, for your words. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for letting the people that are listening to our show or will listen later on of who you are and what you're doing for the people that wants to write their story. And thank you for being with us on the show. Now, I want to invite you all. I know that LaQuita and I Am Magazine are making a masterclass on how to start writing your story. So tell us just a little bit of how or what points are you going to give. Don't give it all, because then people are not going to be interested. But what are you going to teach us on the masterclass?
So I'm going to teach you how to get started. I'm going to share some tips on what you can do to start writing your story. I'm going to share, the outline, what goes in your story, how to make your story interesting for your readers. And if you have a story and you don't know how to get started, we'll do some. It'll be an interactive masterclass also, where you have questions. I can help you brainstorm and map out a title and get your book from a thought to a realization. And I can show you how to take stories that you have and add to the story. So if you want to start from scratch, you can start from scratch. But I can also help you through this masterclass. We'll talk about how to take stories or short stories that you may have already written and cultivate that into your book. Like your stories, if you've been, like me, I've written stories for I Am Magazine every month, and I'll show you how to take those stories and put them in a book and be able to make money from that.
That is wonderful. I want to be on that masterclass, and you should come to the masterclass because you're going to learn so much. So don't miss this fantastic masterclass. The information to register is on the comments. Buy your ticket to register. It's going to be Saturday, February the 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, that is in the US, and 6 p.m. in Belgium time. So, because we are all over the world, we are inviting you to take part of this. So, we'll share already the link. Please come with us, learn about LaQuita, what the tips are going to give us to write a story, and be ready to become a published author if you're not yet a published author, and write your story. And thank you so much, LaQuita, for being with us and being part of the I Am Revolution.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been certainly a pleasure. I am so glad to partner with I Am Magazine, and I look forward to the master class. I look forward to seeing you all there at the master class. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Thank you so much, Adira.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us. And talk to you later. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us. And we'll see you next Friday that we're presenting another empowering woman on the I Am News show. Thank you, everyone. And see you next time. Bye.